So we're now moving to the B part of preparing and pacing your presentation. Now, this is very important because you have a lot of information. And a lot of times in your digging, you get a lot of stuff, right? And it's like good stuff, right? You have a lot of good stuff, but you don't have a lot of time. So you have to figure this out. You have to prepare, and then you have to pace yourself. So pacing through your presentation is very, very important. Preston, would you read that introductory statement right under the letter B, pacing through your presentation?
You must assess how long each part of your presentation will take to deliver it so you can accurately pace through the presentation.
Right, that is important. You must assess. That means spend some time with how long it's going to take you to deliver this information. Mr. Hinman was joking about leaders sometimes who speak a lot, and particularly those of my persuasion. A watch means nothing. So you have to really focus on the watch. And so I would say, as leaders, when you do great investigation and you hit your hot button, you really got to focus on your time, right? You want to make sure you don't run over and you don't overwhelm either. You know, it's easier to drink from a faucet than the Niagara, right? So you don't want to overdo it. So you want to pace yourself. And how do we do that? Well, there are 3 critical steps to take. And let's look at that. And so if you don't mind, Dallas, would you read point number 1 for me, the bold portion?
Be clear about the length of time allotted to speak.
There it is. Be clear. You want to know the start and the end of what it is you're trying to accomplish. Be sure you know how long in minutes you have to speak. So I know how much time I have right now to speak, right? And I also know it's right on about time for me to get my prop. And so you need to know what time it is when you start. And so, Cyril, would you quickly just look at that right icon at the top? What does it tell us when we look at that graph?
You mean begin and end?
Yeah, begin and end. That's all it says, begin and end. But it's a clock. Would you read the hands on the clock?
One says 9, the other one says 9:45.
Okay, so if you got a 45-minute presentation, you need to get ready for a what? 45-minute presentation, right? And so you need to figure out what it's going to take for you to get 90 minutes into 45. Because your research, you might get about 90 minutes worth of information, but you can't present 90 minutes. You have to get it done in the 45 minutes. And so be sure to include, here it is, your invite, time that out, how you're going to inform. You don't want a long inform if you have a long invite, right? Shorten the invite, maybe increase the inform, maybe increase the illustration or cut your illustration down. You've got to work through all of that and know what that means. So be clear, number 1, about your time and how you want to use it. Be absolutely sure you know when you must end the presentation, and then do not exceed it. Secondly, all right, Nick, would you read the second point, bold line, please?
Be sure your message content fits the time allotted.
There it is. Be sure that what you've dug up, right, you now can mold it and shape it to be a part of your presentation, and it clearly covers it, right? You can unpack it, you can elaborate, you can elucidate, you can expound, you can expose all these alliterations that I'm using, right? You can do that, but you get it done to be effective and efficient using your time properly. It is much better to make a few key points rather than to try frantically to cover what? Too much information that cannot be absorbed by your audience. Here's one thing you can do. The best way to be sure is to practice your message from beginning to end. So one of the things that I like to do is be prepared, but I also need to know what it is I'm doing. And so I want to just kind of help you to see this is what I discovered. This is what I investigated. This is what I researched, right? This is how much time I have. So what if I say, I'm going to try to make this thing work anyhow? And I'm just talking and I'm talking and I'm elaborating, I'm elucidating, I'm expiating, I'm exegeting, wow. I got it all done. But how much did I waste? How much of it was overwhelming, right? So that's why it's important to what? Plan what you do, know your timeline, and guess what, guys? It makes a difference. What do you think about the illustration? I love the illustration every time I do, right? Because have you ever been there? Anybody ever been there? Anybody give a speech? Have everybody been assigned a speech? Or just give a talk? Or say you got 1 minute to say this, and you're like, 1 minute? And you're like, what did you? But you told me to be prepared, but you didn't tell me 2 minutes. So make sure you find out before you go what your timeline is and what you got to say. And then be able to deliver, because you don't want to waste good information by not being able to get it in time. And then you don't want to overwhelm by trying to crunch too much in there, and then you lose it on the audience. So be care about your preparation and knowing how to get it into your timeline. And then finally, my friends, utilize available tools to help with pacing. Utilize available tools to help with pacing. Preston, would you read those 3 bullet points for me?
Have a trusted person keep the time and signal you every 10 to 15 minutes. Have them signal you with 5 minutes left. One suggestion is to make laminated time cards, 5, 10, 15 minutes, etc. on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. Have someone in the back hold them up to identify the amount of time you have left to speak. Practice several times to see if you can hit the time marks so you can pace through your message and conclude on time.
These are good to help, right? While everybody's looking at the speaker can be looking at your helper, right? And it's good to have those because they really do help. They really do help. And once you learn how to get that done, right, and get that seamless flow while you're talking and they're showing, and hopefully you're keeping everybody's attention, when you get to your mark, you know when to start winding it down. And once you wind it down, right, you feel good about it. Now you want to make sure you get that implement in before it's too late, because one of the things you don't want to do is run out of time and you don't have your bookends together. Because if you don't have the book in, then all of the other stuff that you stacked up is going to what? Fall over. And so preparing it and then practicing to pace it will help you to deliver an effective and efficient presentation so that the students or the audience, they will be able to have it and then become what? A representation. They can be a cookie cutter, right? Because one of the things I want to do is acquire information, pass it on, that those who acquire information can pass it on, that those who acquire information can pass it on. And that's one way to be effective in your preparation and in your presentation, so that you want to make sure that it works and it works and it works again.